Yesterday's Vatican moment was historic. A British monarch praying publicly with the Pope for the first time since the 1530s, and even then I don't think there was a moment when the British monarch prayed publicly with a Pope, but the British monarch would of course been praying publicly with the Catholic Church and its hierarchy. It briefly reset the royal story with images of unity in the Sistine Chapel, and that halo lasted one news cycle before the King flies home to Windsor, to the heartache and the headache of Andrew Royal Lodge and the Epstein aftershocks. Multiple outlets now report that Andrew is in advanced negotiations with the King's representatives about leaving the 30-room Royal Lodge. He cannot be summarily evicted because of the 75-year lease signed in 2003, but the pressure has clearly intensified and his exit is clearly inevitable. The lease requires only a peppercorn rate if demanded, and provides for a surrender payment of roughly $558,000 if he gives up early, with tapering add-ons referenced in coverage through to 2028. So expect fierce haggling over additional equitable compensation for his claimed capital spend. The Public Accounts Committee is seeking details from the Crown Estate, raising the spectre of a messy public process that the palace will be desperate to avoid. The peppercorn rent story in a cost of living era is reputationally toxic. It eclipses the Vatican optics and any soft power dividend from yesterday. The importance here is to make sure the Crown is not toppled by the King's younger brother. Keeping focus on the King's constitutional and diplomatic role requires removing these serial distractions. The Windsor estate shouldn't be read as sanctuary for a scandal magnate. And if Andrew wants to remain near Windsor or London, close to Beatrice and Eugenie, then so be it. He's resistant to exile in Norfolk or Scotland, but he's going to have to consider what can the little money that he's got buy him. I should have thought it's not that much at £500,000. He can argue sunk funds. He can argue $1 million premium plus more than 7.5 million of refurbishments. He can justify more than the strict lease surrender sum. Public funds are constrained because the Crown Estate's surplus goes to the Treasury. Any sweetener that comes from the King's private resources, I'm sure, would be welcome, and I'm sure there'll be some effort by Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson to push for that. I can't imagine that Sarah Ferguson is actually going to get off very well out of this. She's going to be the person with egg on her face. The Sarah factor, the fresh reporting on the 2011 emails has put her back in the blast radius, and claims that she sought further funds and even visited Epstein after his 2009 release. Something that of course we know. She did that with her daughters, but her side disputes memory of any such visit and frames prior contact as made under threat. Whatever the truth, the headlines drag Andrew's negotiations into a darker register and narrow his sympathy margin. The options on the table are a private grace and favour cottage on the Windsor estate at market rent, which gives him proximity to family, reduces public anger. The cons here are his income limits the market rent available, and critics will still call it privilege by another name. A house on the Balmoral or the Sandringham estate, that's both privately owned by the King, keeps public funds entirely out of the story and provides easy security. The negatives there are that it sounds like an internal exile, and Andrew dislikes the distance, but I don't think he's got very much choice now. A flat within Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace would be secure, controllable. It looks like a reward. It increases public cost, and it would be politically fraught. Any settlement must be framed as administrative housekeeping, not punishment, and palace briefings already stress the blamelessness of Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, and the residential security, the necessary cordon around members of the royal family. The reports that the king wants Royal Lodge for the Queen as a future dowager base are being denied by aides, and I'm sure that's a story designed to start a new feud, as if there's not enough. Peppercorn rent is the nominal rent used where a tenant pays a premium and undertakes capital works. It's lawful, but in this case, politically radioactive. The lease surrender payments are standard practice. The headline at 558,000 is not a payoff for scandal. It's the contractual price of unwinding a long lease. The real controversy is whether any extra is demanded and what are the terms on which he acquires another and a different house. Commons' time will likely to be allocated, will likely not be allocated to a full debate, although there will almost certainly be a committee hearing. I was saying the other day that it's almost certain that Prince Andrew will be called to testify, but I think that's not the case now. I think the likelihood is that threat was real, and has now been diluted by Andrew's clear intention to quit. But committees can and will probe the documents, and the threat, that threat alone concentrates minds, or has concentrated minds, at the palace. I think the Windsor downsizing plus a modest private top-up is the most likely solution, probably with Frogmore in mind. The Scottish or the Norfolk retreat would be the next option. The dig-in and delay, I think is something that is now receding. The king just choreographed an image of Christian concord in Rome. He now needs a domestic concord that removes Andrew from the front pages without opening the public purse or appearing vindictive. That means a fast private land lawful swap, smaller keys for a signed surrender, minimal rhetoric, maximum finality, and the alternative is months of corrosive drip feed that will overshadow the Vatican dividend.